Hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Coaster Thoughts, a series that's just an excuse for me to review coasters. Well, you may have thought this series was dead after, I uploaded 2 videos in it like 3 years ago that were like a week apart, and then I never uploaded to the series ever again. But no, you're wrong. The series was never dead. But unlike those questionable in quality videos, Candemonium, but whatever. So this one should hopefully be a bit better made, like a little bit. Who knows? We'll see. Today we're going to be taking a look at the 3 classic Kennywood coasters, and if you're not sure what they are, they have 3 really old coasters around in the 1920s, Thunderbolt, Racer, and Jackrabbit, and I'll be reviewing all 3 of them. Footage is mine and probably a POV from Kennywood, so let's get into it with our first one, Thunderbolt. So Thunderbolt, I probably have the least to say out of the 3 coasters. It's square in the middle of the 2, and it's a very just interesting, but also not too substantial classic wooden coaster. You start off the ride with an interesting pre-lift section. There's 2 drops before you go into the actual lift hill, and it's pretty scenic, not too much airtime, but you get a bit of floater, and it sometimes has interactions with Phantom's Revenge, which is pretty cool. You just get off the lift hill, and it's essentially just a turn into a drop, into a hill, into a turn, into a drop, then a hill, and it's just the same thing over and over again. But the repetitive nature of this ride isn't bad, and it's generally a pretty short ride, only just about above a minute. But some of the hills do give pretty decent airtime, and honestly, something I can compliment all 3 of these rides on is their smoothness. Kennywood's done an amazing job preserving these wooden coasters. Yeah, while there isn't a ton going on with this ride, it's nothing crazy or anything. It's definitely a very good ride, and obviously a must-do if you're at the park. I mean, there's something like 7 coasters there. All these are must-dos. But the most interesting part about this probably is that you need 2 riders. So just note that if you're going to Kennywood or anything, you need 2 riders to go on this coaster. Don't know why, not like that on any of the other rides, but sorry, coaster enthusiasts, you're actually going to have to find a friend or something like that. No! So the second coaster we're going to be talking about is Racer. One of the more unique wooden coasters. Actually, all 3 of these wooden coasters are pretty unique, but definitely the most unique racing coaster I've been on. And another coaster from the 20s. I will note with this one, it's not quite as smooth as Jackrabbit or Thunderbolt. It's still decently smooth for, of course, when it opened, but you definitely can tell that there's a bit of a rattle throughout, so that's a bit of a blemish. It's easily my least favorite of the 3, but it's still some good merits. First of all, it's a Mobius loop coaster. If you're not aware what those are, it just means that whenever one side of the track finishes, it ends up on the other side of the track. So how many credits is this ride? 1, 2, 1.5, a half for each side? I don't know. Yeah, but into the actual ride experience, it's a very basic old wooden coaster layout. Actually quite similar to the other 2 wooden coasters. But anyways, it's like a turn into a drop, into a turn, into a drop, into like an airtime hill, into a turn, into a drop, etc., etc. Like, obviously, I'm not looking at the layout right now. This is speaking off the cuff, but yeah, it's just a lot of that. And I do remember towards the end, you actually do start to build some speed, and there's actually an airtime moment that was a lot more shocking than I expected. But overall, it's relatively forceless, and easily the most fun aspect is the racing aspect. I think the left side wins more often. Like, if you get in the station, if you're on the car, it's to your left. I feel like that one wins more often, but I've only been on it twice, so I don't know. But yeah, cool coaster, but definitely the weakest of the 3. No huge standout moments, nothing crazy, relatively short again. Shortest in terms of height, probably the slowest, easily it's mediocre. Now for the final ride in this video, it's Jackrabbit. The one with probably the most pros and the most cons. Jackrabbit it has no force. Okay, there is no elements of force outside of an obvious part I'm going to be talking about later. The ride, similarly to Thunderbolt, has another quite long pre-lift section. It's just a drop into a tunnel, into a drop into the hill. I don't know what's up with the old coasters at this park, but they have some pretty good pre-lifts. But then you get into the lift hill, and it's fine. Then you go into turnaround into the first main and pretty much only notable part of the ride. The double down. Oh boy, this element. How do I even describe it? So you start going down, and it's like fine. It's just a regular drop like every other one, forceless. Then you go up, and you flatten out a bit, and then you go down for the second time. And it's El Toro first drop, honestly. I don't know what this ride's on, but it is El Toro first drop level, and I don't know. I mean, I sat near the back on my most recent ride. On my older one, I was near the middle. It's crazy. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how people weren't like deathly afraid of this in the 20s. Like, that's crazy for something made that old. And then of course you finish the ride off with some strong elements, a turn into a drop into like the brake run. So you've ever heard of a one-trick pony? That phrase? Yeah, that describes this ride perfectly. The one airtime moment it has is so good. Then the rest of the ride's just so boring. There's nothing to it. But again, it's really smooth. I mean, when I went on it in 2019, I believe, I don't remember it being that smooth, but after its 100th anniversary, when I rode it this year and last year in 2023, it was running really well and felt way smoother than probably half the other wooden coasters I've ever been on. So that was interesting. So yeah, overall, easily my favorite just because it actually has a standout element unlike the other two that isn't just turn, drop, turn, drop, turn, drop. But definitely the best wooden coaster here, and arguably the third best ride in the park, and second best ride because Steel Curtain's never open. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this episode of Coaster Thoughts. I don't know if I'm going to be doing another one of these for 3 years. Who knows? Yeah. Thanks for watching, and subscribe if you like. Subscribe if you like